Imagine waking up to an email claiming a $399.99 auto-renewal charge for a computer security subscription you never purchased. The message looks perfectly legitimate, complete with official logos, a realistic invoice number, and a prominent customer support phone line to call if you wish to cancel. For a 54-year-old teacher in Ohio, this seemingly mundane notification triggered a sequence of events that ultimately drained her entire life savings within a matter of hours. This is not a rare anomaly, but the precise opening gambit of a highly orchestrated digital crime. The modern refund scam relies entirely on manufacturing a crisis to bypass your logical defenses. Fraudsters blast out millions of these deceptive messages daily, a tactic known as phishing, where criminals use fraudulent communications to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information. Sometimes these arrive via text message known as smishing, but the goal remains identical. They want you to panic about an unauthorized charge and dial that fake tech support number. By initiating the call yourself, you unknowingly cross the first psychological threshold, approaching the scammer not as a suspicious target, but as a customer seeking help. Once the call connects, the voice on the other end is invariably calm, professional, and endlessly reassuring. This is the hallmark of sophisticated social engineering, the psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. The operative expresses deep concern about the erroneous charge and promises to expedite your cancellation immediately. They create a false alliance, positioning themselves as your advocate against a faceless corporate billing system. This manufactured empathy is the anesthetic used to numb your skepticism before the actual digital intrusion begins. To process this fictitious cancellation, the helpful agent claims they need to connect directly to your computer using remote desktop software. They will guide you to download seemingly benign applications like AnyDesk or TeamViewer, programs legitimately used by IT departments worldwide to troubleshoot computer issues. By instructing you to read back a 9-digit connection code, the scammer effectively secures the keys to your digital life. You watch as your mouse cursor begins to move on its own, an unsettling visual that the operative quickly normalizes as standard industry procedure. Sitting in front of the glowing screen, the victim feels a false sense of security because they are physically present and ostensibly supervising the process. The agent opens a notepad document, typing out the refund details to maintain the illusion of a bureaucratic procedure. They then ask you to log into your online banking portal so the supposedly refunded money can be deposited directly into your checking account. This is the critical juncture of the remote access refund fraud, where the trap snaps shut with devastating precision. With the victim's bank account visible on the screen, the scammer executes a brilliant piece of technical manipulation behind the scenes. They instruct the victim to type the refund amount into a fake form, but as the victim types $399, the scammer intentionally adds extra zeros, making it look like $39,900 was entered. Instantly, the scammer blanks the victim's screen for a few seconds, claiming a temporary network glitch. During this brief blackout, the fraudster utilizes a basic web browser feature called Developer Tools to alter the web page's underlying code. This technique is known as HTML browser manipulation, and it is the linchpin of the entire operation. By editing the text displayed on the local browser, the scammer changes the visual representation of the bank balance without actually altering the real funds in the account. When the screen turns back on, the victim gasps. Their checking account now appears to hold a massive surplus. The scammer immediately begins to panic, screaming through the phone that they have made a catastrophic error, accidentally refunding tens of thousands of dollars and begging the victim for help. The emotional pivot is violent and intentionally disorienting. The previously calm professional is now weeping, claiming they will lose their job, face criminal charges, or be unable to feed their family because of this massive financial blunder. This leverages a powerful human vulnerability, the innate desire to help someone in distress and correct a perceived wrong. The victim, staring at the fabricated bank balance on their own trusted computer monitor, genuinely believes they are holding stolen corporate funds and feels an overwhelming moral obligation to return the surplus. The extraction phase begins under this cloud of manufactured guilt and intense urgency. The scammer insists that the money cannot be returned through a standard bank reversal, citing complex corporate policies or security freezes. Instead, they direct the frantic victim to immediately drive to their local bank branch to initiate a wire transfer fraud. A wire transfer is an electronic routing of funds across a network administered by banks, and once the money is sent internationally, it is nearly impossible to recover. If a wire transfer is deemed too risky or the bank tellers ask too many questions, the operatives have alternative methods ready. They will keep the victim on the phone for hours, directing them to multiple retail stores to purchase thousands of dollars in high-value gift cards. The victim is instructed to scratch off the security foil and read the redemption codes aloud over the phone. In recent years, scammers have increasingly directed victims to local Bitcoin ATMs to deposit physical cash into a digital ledger controlled by the criminal syndicate. A cryptocurrency wallet is a digital system that allows users to store, send, and receive digital currency like Bitcoin. Because these transactions are decentralized and pseudonymous, they provide an ideal laundering vehicle for stolen funds. Once the victim feeds physical cash into the machine and scans the scammer's QR code, the digital assets vanish across the blockchain in seconds. The immutable nature of these digital ledgers means that no bank manager or fraud department can reverse the transaction once the transfer is confirmed. This investigative breakdown reveals that these are not isolated individuals operating out of basements, but massive industrialized syndicates. These fraudulent call centers are sprawling corporate entities, complete with human resources departments, performance quotas, and tiered management structures. The person answering the initial phone call is often a low-level screener, while the individual executing the HTML manipulation is a highly trained closer. They utilize detailed scripts, psychological profiling, and relentless persistence to drain every available cent from the targeted individual. The financial devastation wrought by these operations is staggering, stripping billions of dollars from the global economy annually. Retirees are particularly vulnerable, often losing decades of carefully accumulated savings in a single afternoon. The trauma extends far beyond the depleted bank accounts, fracturing families, destroying retirement plans, and leaving deep psychological scars. The realization that one's own empathy and compliance were weaponized against them creates a profound sense of violation that outlasts the financial ruin. Shame becomes the ultimate silencer in the aftermath of a digital con. Victims frequently hide the devastating losses from their spouses, children, and even law enforcement, convinced that their gullibility is entirely to blame. This silence is exactly what the syndicates rely upon to continue operating without interference. It is crucial to understand that falling for a highly orchestrated, technologically sophisticated deception is not a failure of intelligence, but a testament to the criminal's mastery of human psychology and digital manipulation. Defeating this insidious threat requires a fundamental shift in how we interact with unexpected digital communications. The most critical defense mechanism is to never trust the contact information provided within an alarming email, text message, or pop-up warning. If you receive a notification about a suspicious charge, close the message entirely. Open a new web browser, navigate independently to the company's official website, and locate their verified customer service number. This simple act of breaking the communication chain neutralizes the initial phishing attempt instantly. If you ever find yourself on the phone with someone requesting remote access to your personal computer, hang up immediately. Legitimate tech support companies, Software providers and financial institutions will never proactively call you and demand access to your device to process a refund. If you have already granted access and realize something is wrong, do not attempt to argue with the operative. Simply hold down the power button on your computer until it shuts off entirely, physically severing the digital connection. To further fortify your digital perimeter, you must implement multi-factor authentication across all sensitive accounts. This security protocol requires you to provide 2 or more verification factors to gain access to a resource, typically your password plus a temporary code sent to your mobile device. Even if a scammer manages to steal your banking password during a remote session, they cannot authorize new external transfers without physical access to your secondary device. It is a vital layer of friction that disrupts automated theft. The landscape of digital fraud is constantly shifting, with syndicates continually refining their methodologies. We are now witnessing the integration of artificial intelligence into these schemes, utilizing voice cloning technology to impersonate trusted family members or bank officials. A deepfake is a synthetic media in which a person in an existing image or video is replaced with someone else's likeness. And scammers are beginning to use these highly realistic audio and video forgeries to bypass traditional verification methods and escalate the perceived urgency. Awareness of the emotional pivot is your strongest psychological shield against these evolving threats. When an interaction shifts suddenly from routine customer service to high-stakes panic, weeping, or aggressive threats, recognize it as a manufactured performance. Scammers rely on creating a state of hyperarousal where your logical brain shuts down and your fight-or-flight response takes over. By taking a deep breath, stepping away from the keyboard, and physically distancing yourself from the screen, you can break the hypnotic spell of the crisis. If your digital defenses are breached, immediate and decisive action is required to contain the damage. Contact your bank's fraud department directly, explicitly stating that your computer was compromised via remote desktop software and your account routing numbers may be exposed. You must request a complete freeze on all outbound transfers and likely close the compromised checking account entirely. Time is the most critical variable, as funds transferred via wire or cryptocurrency are often unrecoverable within hours of the transaction. Following a remote access breach, your computer must be treated as a hostile environment. Scammers frequently leave behind hidden software, keyloggers, or secondary backdoors to regain access long after the initial phone call ends. Do not log into any financial institutions or type sensitive passwords on that machine until it has been thoroughly sanitized. The most secure remediation is a complete factory reset, wiping the hard drive entirely and reinstalling the operating system to ensure no malicious code survives. Combating this industrial-scale theft requires more than just individual vigilance, demanding a coordinated response from the financial sector. Banks are increasingly implementing behavioral analytics to detect anomalous transfer patterns, flagging requests that deviate from a customer's historical baseline. However, the tension between frictionless banking convenience and rigorous security protocols remains a difficult balance. When a customer stands at a teller window demanding to wire their own money, the bank faces significant legal hurdles in refusing the transaction, even if they suspect fraud. Tracing the stolen funds reveals a complex labyrinth of international finance. The money rarely goes directly to the overseas syndicate. Instead, it flows through domestic accounts controlled by money mules, individuals who transfer illegally acquired money on behalf of others, sometimes willingly, but often as victims of romance or employment scams themselves. This deliberate compartmentalization obscures the money trail, forcing law enforcement to navigate a maze of jurisdictional boundaries and uncooperative foreign banking systems. Protecting our communities requires proactive conversations with the most vulnerable among us. We must educate older relatives about the specific mechanics of the remote access refund scam before the deceptive email ever arrives in their inbox. Role-playing these scenarios, discussing the warning signs of HTML manipulation, and establishing a trusted family code word for financial emergencies can build a crucial firewall of skepticism. We must replace the stigma of victimhood with a culture of shared digital defense. Navigating the modern internet demands a posture of informed skepticism. We must accept that our inboxes and text threads are actively contested battlegrounds, probed daily by sophisticated criminal enterprises seeking a momentary lapse in our attention. This is not a reason for despair, but a call to action. By understanding the precise technical and psychological levers these scammers pull, we strip away their power and transform their seemingly magical deceptions into predictable, easily defeated scripts. The digital landscape will continue to evolve, and the tactics of financial predators will undoubtedly grow more complex. Yet the fundamental defense remains rooted in our ability to pause, verify, and refuse to be rushed into irreversible financial decisions. The true power does not lie in the hands of the unseen operative manipulating code across the globe, but in your unwavering refusal to surrender control of your digital life. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and remain the ultimate guardian of your own security.